You just mentioned not everybody can become Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, or even Jack Ma here in China, but there must be a lot of things, as you described some already, that we can learn from those successful business leaders. I mean, Dr. Zeitman, you interviewed and studied many of them. What are some of the most important psychology or mindset from those super rich that the ordinary people can learn from or follow?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. I can tell you about some. One I mentioned before, you have to enjoy swimming against the stream. Yes, we talked about this before. To be a nonconformist, yes, not doing the same as everyone else. Very important. Another thing that is very important, how to deal with setbacks and with failure, because you see only the success story, but a lot of these people, or every one of them, they had serious setbacks, crises, failures. This happens to everyone, to you and me and everyone, but there's a difference how we react. Most of the people are this way. If they are successful, then they take responsibility for their success. You know, how good am I? And tell his wife, you know, how good am I? Yes, if they succeed. But if they fail, they blame other people. For example, they fail at school, it was the teacher's fault. Then later on, they didn't succeed in their company. They failed in professional life. It was the fault. They blame the company or their boss, or they blame the society or their parents, the education, or everyone else. This is the difference. Successful people, rich people, have an absolute different mindset. They take responsibility not only for their success, but as well for their failure. This is very important. If they fail, they never blame other people. They take it as a lesson where you can learn, and they learn how to change to make from a negative experience some positive things. This is very, maybe the most important thing. And another thing is learn to listen to your gut feeling, to your intuition. A lot of people think it's all about analysis and what you learn in university, but I think it's not so important. For example, these people I spoke with, there were some were at the university, some of them had not only a high school, were never at high school or something like this. So it was not important. I asked them about their grades at school. Some of them had good grades, some of them were very, very bad at school. So this was not something that they had in common. Much more important is something we call in psychology implicit learning. Maybe I can explain it for a second. There are two ways how you can learn. The one way is explicit learning. It's like academic learning, what you do at school or university, reading books and so on. The other thing is you call implicit learning. It's learning by doing. For example, half of the people I spoke with, they were competitive athletes. Yes, and they learned a lot when they were competitive athletes. They learned how to deal with victory, but much more important, they learned how to deal with defeat. Very important. And I mentioned before, even in the younger years when they were at school or university, they had early entrepreneurial experience, especially in the field of sales. And this is what we call implicit learning. It's not book wisdom. And this was very, very important for them. Not their background. Only very few of them had rich parents. To be honest, only very few of them had really poor parents. Most of them had parents from middle class. But it was this mindset, this attitude that made the difference.
I remember you mentioned real estate investment just now. And I know that you don't want to comment on individual stocks or specific financial industries, but in China, where a lot of people still allocate majority of their assets, I would say more than 70% or more on properties, as housing prices are becoming so high and monthly mortgages are so burdening for many to carry. Is there still opportunities for rags to riches while class solidification is a common problem, not only in China, but all around the world today?
Yes, it is a big problem. We have high prices with real estate, with stocks, with everything. And so, to be honest, it's not very easy. It's not the best time for investment is, for example, last February or March. This was a great time. Yes. So, and if in the last years people asked me, when should I start to invest in stocks? I always told them, please wait. There will be something like a crisis or a crash, and then save your money, and then you have to take the opportunity. And I did it for example. But as mentioned before, if someone want to grow rich, I think maybe this is a kind of mistake that a lot of people make as well in China. I mentioned it before. You have to distinguish between gambling and investment. And a lot of people, they go to the stock market or the real estate market and they gamble. They buy something and hope it will be more expensive in the next few months or years, and sure, it can happen, but this has nothing to do with investment. So this is something like gambling. Sure, you can win a lot of money, you can win as well in the casino a lot of money, yes, but you can lose a lot of money on the other hand. And this, I think people should learn what is the difference between gambling and investment, if you confuse this both things, you will never become rich. It can happen for maybe for some month or for some years, but then in the end you will lose everything. This is, I wrote another book, Financial Freedom, and this book starts with the stories of a lot of people who won a lot, who earned a lot of money, maybe in the lottery or with investment or as pop stars or whatever, and they lost everything. There are so many people who became rich, maybe inheritance, maybe they gained something at the stock market and they lose all the money because they don't have the mindset. They don't have the mindset. And this is so the reason why in this book about financial freedom, I have two parts. The one is how to grow rich, and there's my message. It's more about entrepreneurship, and then it's how to stay rich. If you are rich, then stocks, shares, real estate, and all this bonds as well are important. But you have to distinguish between these two different cycles. First, how to grow rich, and then how to stay rich. And this is for both of these things, there are different kind of laws.
And in terms of middle class, right? Middle class in China, in Germany, in the US, as I mentioned, maybe now they are facing mortgages, they're facing financial burdens every month. For them, what is the first few steps to think about when they, are doing their not fortune, but wealth management?
Yes, I think what I can recommend to everyone, if you work there as an employee, what is true for most of the people, they are not entrepreneurs, they work as employees. Yes, think about a side job that you can in your spare time. Even if you work maybe 8 or 9 hours, there is room to work 2 hours more and start your own little business. This is very important because I don't recommend to people go to your boss, quit your job, and then be an entrepreneur. You can be successful this way, but you never know. You have an idea, but most of the people who build a new business, they don't, you mentioned before, they don't become rich, but most of them are not successful. And so it's a smart way. If you have the safety of your monthly income as employee in the company, and then you think about what can I do in the evening or in the weekend, Sunday, and a lot of people who grow rich, they did it exactly this way. For me, it was the same. I worked as an employee, and then I started to earn money. I had ideas, and someday I earned more money with my activities outside my job. And then I went to my boss and said, okay, I quit because I will found my own company. But it's a way to find out whether you have everything what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You will never know before you try it. But I think this is, I want people that they think more about entrepreneurship than about gambling with stocks, for example, because entrepreneurship, it's the greatest thing to become rich. Look at the list of the richest people. All of them, almost every one of them is entrepreneur. And maybe, sure, you're right. Of course, not everyone will be as rich as Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. But this is not necessary. You don't have to be a lot of billions. I think for most of people, it would be great if you have maybe in the end like $10 million or $20 million. This will be also, and for this, it's very important to set your goals high. And if you don't, some people, we spoke at the beginning of the New Year's resolution, and they have only this very small goals, these small aims. Why? Because they fear that they could fail, but they failed anyway. Then at this moment, and think about one thing. There's a song by the Rolling Stones. Maybe you heard this. The song is, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you get what you need." And what does it mean? Maybe you set yourself the goal that you will have $100 million. Maybe in the end you will not become $100 million. Maybe it will only $30 million. But it's great as well to have $30 million. But if you have no goals or only this very small goals, I think then it's very unlikely that you, and not everyone has to be such great goals like Elon Musk want to go to the Mars and everything, of course. But you can learn from all these people that they thought bigger than the majority. And this is the difference between them and everyone else, because most of the people, they don't think big enough because they have fear that they can fail.
Exactly. And then when people look at themselves saying, oh, can I become an entrepreneur? What are some criteria or what are some great characteristics that you see from great entrepreneurs? Is there like a recipe or a list or like a self-test that people can come and see, oh, if I meet those criteria to become a great entrepreneur?
There's not a kind of test where you can say it's sure, but yes, there is a lot of research about it. The psychology of successful entrepreneurs, and in psychology we distinguish between 5 very important personality traits, and maybe I can tell you a little bit about these 5 personality traits. And the rich people, I had interviews with them, all of them conducted this so-called Big 5 test. And one of this is called conscientiousness. It means this is the things we spoke about, how ambitious you are and how you reliable and punctual, and all this conscientiousness, and all this successful entrepreneurs were very high, this conscientiousness. The next one was to be open for new experiences, not to do all times the same. And if someone makes you a suggestion, some people say, no, I know it will not work, and no. And successful people, they are more open-minded to try new things, experiment sometimes. So open for new experience, very important. The next one is extroversion. You know, there's this difference between people with more introverted people and more extroverted, that you make contacts, network, learn to sell, and so. The fourth one is agreeableness, and this is something very interesting. Successful entrepreneurs have lower scores in agreeableness than other people. What does it mean? They are more conflict oriented. Someone who wants always to be liked by everyone, to be everyone's darling and in a harmony with everyone. For him, it will be very hard to be successful. Sure, you haven't been so like Donald Trump, for example, who is always with everyone in conflict. Not this way, but a little bit of this, yes, to engage, to have the possibility, yes, to stand your ground and maybe not accept the no. So these people are, generally spoken, not so agreeable as other people. And the last thing was neuroticism. So how psychological stable you are, and this successful entrepreneurs, were more psychological stable. And I will add two other things. One is that there was research 2 years ago in a scientific journal, and I read about it. They analyzed successful entrepreneurs and rich people, and they had two other things. One of these things were they believed, and this is, I think, very important, that they are the masters of their own life. They don't believe in fate, or they don't see themselves as victims. Yes, and I think this is very important, because today a lot of people have this victim mentality. You are now in the United States, and you know it. I'm black, and so I can't be successful. I'm a woman, I can't be successful. I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm a disabled person, and all this. You know, everyone want to be a victim. But maybe I tell you interesting story. This will be my next book. I read now and I write about disabled people who are very successful, and you can learn a lot of them. Maybe not everyone knows him, but Ray Charles, for example, the singer Ray Charles, he was one of the most famous singers, and even in the 50s, he had $100 million, what was much more money than it is today. And he was blind. With 7 years, he became blind, and he was born in the poorest family of the town. His mother died when she was 30 years old. And so he had all excuses. He could have all excuses. I'm blind, I'm born poor, I'm black. He never met his father. Mother died when she was 30. Brother died as well when he was a kid, yes. So, but he didn't use his excuses. He made his way because he had this success mindset. And this is not only true for entrepreneurs, but it's true for all successful people. And maybe another example, maybe you know Stephen Hawking, the scientist who was in a wheelchair, and he couldn't move, he couldn't speak anymore. But he became a bestseller author, and he became one of maybe the most famous scientists all over the world, because he had the success mindset. And there are so many stories maybe the last thing, 2 weeks ago, I had an interview with a guy, he lives in America. His name is Eric Weinmeier. And he climbed what you call the 7 summits. So this is the 7 highest mountains in the world, including Mount Everest, the 7 highest summits in the world. And he was blind. He's blind. Imagine this. And you can learn a lot about these people. They have the same attitudes and the same mindset as rich people and successful entrepreneurs. And this is what I want to tell everyone. There are some laws for success, and these laws are true for all people who want to be successful. Whether you want to grow rich, or whether you want to become famous, or whether you want to succeed in sports or whatever. This is not so important. In what is the field where you want to be successful, but there are laws of success. And all my books that I have, in every one of these books, you find this about the mindset and about the laws of success. And don't expect not from my book. If you look for a book or for some people who tell you have to do now 1, 2, 3, 4, then you will be successful. Don't believe in them. This is stupid. People who are looking for people like this, they will be never successful. You have to find your own way. But to find your own way, you can learn from other people who were successful. And for example, here, if you look at in this book, for example, Dare to be Different, Grow Rich, I analyzed the biographies of 50 very, very successful people. And you can read this 50 biographies, but not everyone has the time to read now 50 biographies. But if you read this book, you will find what they have in common. You can learn something from them, not as an easy recipe. Here, this other book, this is with this, I think you have it, with this 200 quotes from 2,500 years from so many different people, philosophers, entrepreneurs, and so many different people. But you can learn from them, but not in this way that they will tell you exactly what should you do tomorrow. But you read and then you try to understand what is the mindset. But because in the end, it's all about the mindset.
Very nice. And you almost answered my last question, which I would ask you to recommend some books to our viewers for 2021. Is there any other books you want to mention? Of course, the books that you think the viewers would benefit when making their own investment decisions. And also, you yourself have written quite some excellent books, as you mentioned, and they're published in China in Chinese and have been sold quite well there.
Yes, there are. If I don't know what other books are you can buy in China or not. I know it only from my books, but I know my books best. As I mentioned, this book is my most successful book. What is translated now in 11 languages, and I would buy this the first. Dare to be Different and Grow Rich. It's very easy to read book with a lot of stories. I told you one story about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and you find story about Warren Buffett, about Steve Jobs, and about Rockefeller, about so many rich people. And this is the book. This is more about finance, that's financial freedom, how to grow rich and how to stay rich, both of these things. I think this is my most successful book in China right now. A lot of people bought it, Financial Freedom. And this small book is not to read it from page 1 to the last page. It's more take it with you, and if you're if you are in the underground or you have a little time, then read a little bit, do it in your handbag maybe, and think about it. So, and the last book, this is, to be honest, a little bit more complicated because it is a very scientific book. It's my doctoral thesis with this interviews with 45 super rich people. It has two parts. The first part is a lot of theory. You don't have to read it. I tell the reader you don't have to read it. The next part is a lot this interviews. This is more easy to read. So there are a lot of different books. Start to read it, and I get every day I get emails from people all over the world who became successful and who thanked me, and then this book, for example, this changed my life. And so I hope as well for some people, if you don't expect this easy recipe, if you don't expect someone who tells you what to do, I will not tell you what to do, but I will make you start thinking about yourself.
Very nice. I think those are all my questions today. Is there anything else you want to add or comment before we finish our interview?
Yes, I want to say I'm waiting. I'm looking very much forward to go back to China, because I love so the spirit of Chinese people. They are so much more ambitious as we are in Europe, to be honest, because in Europe, the people sometimes they are not hungry enough, you know, and that's what I like in China. People are more hungry than in Europe, especially with women. For example, when I speak here in Europe, most cases these are 80% men, 90% men. If there's a woman, maybe it's the girlfriend of someone who took her with to the presentation. In China, it's different. Half of this are women, because they are much more ambitious than in Europe. This is one thing that I like very much in China. The next thing is Chinese people are curious. They want to learn from other people. This is a difference to United States. United States, we have as well ambitious people, but they think they know everything best. We are Americans, we know everything best. We don't know, so for this reason, they don't translate so many books. For example, it's easier to find a Chinese publisher to translate your books than a publisher in the United States, because people in the United States, a lot of them, they are like this know-it-all. Yes, I know, don't tell me something. And this is crazy, I think, and this is what I like in China. People are more open-minded, more curious. They want to learn a lot from everyone, and they're ambitious. And so I look very much forward after Corona crisis to go there. And in the meantime, read the books and follow me in my social media activities in China. And then hopefully I meet some of you if I be next time in China and have there my lectures. I think this coronavirus, it came and it will go. And after this, I look very much forward to go there again.
Of course, I believe our Chinese viewers would like to see you very soon again. Thank you, Doctor, again for your time today. It's a very nice conversation with you. Hope to catch up with you very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.